Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we're talking about the brand new game mode in World of Warships, the first new game mode in a very long time, Convoys. So Convoys is, if you haven't heard about it, instead of having to cap caps or score points, you have to escort 4 convoy ships to their end point if you're the defending team. If you're the attacking team, you have to sink all 4 of these convoy ships to win. Now, this is probably the biggest change up in terms of PvP play in this game in, I think, probably the entire, run of World of Warships. Now, we have had different modes and such, but they've all revolved around the same idea of get points, point out the enemy team, or sink the enemy team. Everything from domination to standard battle to arms race to asymmetric battles to historical battles. Sure, like in arms race, they played with the mechanics and such, and you can get the boosters, and it leans a little bit more into the arcade side of things. And then in asymmetric and historical battles, all they're really doing there is messing with the team composition a little bit. You still have to cap caps and get points for capping, and sink enemy ships and get points for sinking enemy ships. In this mode, you're just escorting these ships to their endpoint, and that's your main goal. Again, if you're on the defending team, and if you're on the attacking team, you have to sink those ships, and there's no scoreboard, there's no caps. It's all just about either defending or sinking these ships. It's a proper escort mission that, again, is just a huge breath of fresh air to the game, and I've been enjoying it quite a lot. Now, there is some issues here, and we're going to talk about those too. But first, I want to talk about what's the good thing about Convoys Mode. And of course, we've talked about this a bit before when it was in testing, but I actually got to play it on different maps, which was, thank God, that happened this time. If you guys didn't know, before when I played it on the PT server, I played it for about 5 matches, and the matchmaking decided that I need to play on the same map 5 times in a row, as matchmaking does sometimes. But this time, thankfully, every time I played, it was on a different map, so that is quite refreshing. At least for the recordings I had back here. I think I had the same map one time, but the other times I got different maps, and there were different routes there too, and that was quite nice. But anyway, the good. So since you're escorting these convoy ships, you have to stick close to them. And where they go, you have to go. There's no more running to the back of the map to try and kite the enemy team. Well, there is that, of course. You can do it, but you're not going to be a very successful convoy escorter or defender if you go running to the back of the map now and stay at the back of the map. It's very much focused on getting these ships to their point or stopping those ships from getting to their point. So that naturally leads to a whole lot more close quarters action, which is fantastic if you like brawling. And I had so much brawling. Actually, I had more brawling in the 5 or 6 matches I played to get this background footage for you guys than I've had, I think, almost in the entirety of the past month or 2 of playing the game. And that's quite significant, because I still try to brawl. I still try to brawl as much as I can in modern World of Warships, even though the meta isn't very indicative of that. But of course, that's very different here. So it's a lot of close quarters action, a lot of fast-paced action too, because again, you're not setting the pace. Your team isn't setting the pace. These convoy ships are setting the pace, and you have to keep up with them, and you need to defend them, or you're going to fail miserably. So that's a fantastic part of this game mode that I really enjoy. 2, it's a historical game mode, kind of, because this was very much a thing that happened in World War II. The Allies had to escort their convoys across the Atlantic to Europe, and they very much had to defend them. Now, not so much against surface ships, more so against submarines, and hopefully when submarines get added into the game, they will be allowed in this mode, because this would be a fantastic mode for submarines. Now, they did mention quite some time ago that they were thinking about adding in a game mode like this where the enemy team was composed of mostly submarines and the friendly team was composed mostly of surface ships like destroyers and cruisers, and it was even more historical than the one that we got here. Like, the concept is historical, the game mode itself isn't historical. You didn't have Prince Eugen and Turpix escorting convoy ships across the Atlantic to the Americas. That would have been a wild timeline if that happened. But, the idea is very much historical, whereas in real life, ships weren't sailing around capturing invisible circles in the middle of the ocean, as we have in random battles in domination and standard battle. So there's that aspect to it. So some of you history buffs will probably enjoy this mode just for that concept as well. So and this can be a good or bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. It encourages team play. You have to so much work with your team, stick together, and protect or destroy the convoys. Now, when you're defending, it leans a lot more into sticking with your team and working together than when you're attacking. Now, yes, attacking too. You, of course, have to stick with your team and coordinate and plan your attack on the convoy, because if you don't, and the defenders are, you're going to get just absolutely walked over by a team that's doing well, sticking together, covering their AA, covering each other with spotting and torpedo screening with the DDs and such. So I very much like that aspect, that it's encouraging team play, and it rewards good team play. Now for the downsides too, again, it's very dependent on team play. So you could put this in either category, and that's why I'm kind of adding it in here too. If you get a team that's just not working together, you're going to have a bad time. And for those of us that matchmaking likes to stick with teams like that for 4 or 5 games in a row, it can be very frustrating, because you can be very close, and I had this happen to me a few times when I was playing, very close to winning when you're say defending. And let's say it's a CV game, and every match I had in this was a CV game. And this happened to me in the first match. You have a battleship that's at almost full health sitting in the back when your teammates have given up their lives to get the last convoy ship almost to the exit point, but because there's a battleship or a cruiser that was lagging behind that was trying to either kite or snipe from the back, your convoy ship is now left out in the open to the CV's attack. And the convoy ships do have secondaries, they do pop smoke, they are actually quite maneuverable and quite strong apparently. I ran into one in a Tirpitz, and rather than me pushing him out the way, he pushed me out of the way. That was quite the surprise and quite a funny moment. It got a hearty chuckle out of me. So when that happens, that ship's obviously left out just to the mercy of the enemy CV. And if it's a half decent CV player, they'll easily be able to just pluck that ship off the map, and now your team lost. Whereas if that teammate who was in the back sniping or not paying attention was moving with the convoy ship, one, maybe not as many of you would have died, because you would have had his AA and his health and his armor there to tank for the your team, and now you have a full health battleship in the back that's not doing anything, and then that last AI just gets nuked, and now you've lost the match despite you and your team throwing everything that you had at it. Not like that's not uncommon in random battles for that situation to occur, just with, of course, other players. But it's extra frustrating here because, you made all that effort and your team worked together so well, and that one guy isn't doing what he was doing. The second thing that I'm not really sure how I feel about this either is CVs. Now, if this was a bigger game mode with more ships, maybe if they threw like another 2 or 3 convoys in there, and they could easily do this in the future and call it, I don't know, Grand Convoys Mode, where it's a proper 12-on-12 team format with, one side escorting maybe 5 or 6 or even 8 or 9 AI bots through the map, and it's a large-scale convoy escort mission. I think it would be more appropriate to have CVs there, but right now, if you have a good CV player, oh my god, is it crazy. Because with the amount of ships that are allowed in the game mode, I think it's 6 or 7, I believe, or 5. I don't know why I can't count. I'll put the right number on screen right here. It's roughly half the size of a normal team in random battles. A good CV can, of course, get through that AA. Now, of course, too, it is random matchmaking. So you can get lucky and maybe get like an Alabama or a Kid on your defending team, which is, of course, fantastic for just throwing up the middle finger at the enemy CV that's trying to attack your convoy. But, you may roll the dice. You might get 2 Tirpitzes and maybe like a French cruiser or 2, and then maybe 2 Japanese DDs on your team, or some type of combination of ships that's just not that great in terms of AA, and now you're kind of boned because you can't really throw up enough flak to stop a full-on CV squadron, unless it's like a Soviet CV, in which case you can potentially, you know, take enough armament out of that attack with the way the Soviet CVs work. Now, too, the bots are actually quite good at dodging torps, and they don't seem to do a whole lot of dodging when planes are around. Now, like, once the torps get in the water, like, and the AI can see it, they are very good at dodging torps. That really surprised me. But rockets and bombs, I don't think the AI knows how to handle that just yet, so they can't really do too much, and they don't, and they do get dunked on kind of easily by CVs in that regards. But at the same time, too, if your teammates are grouping up and you have ships with decent enough AA, you can make the CV pay for attacking the convoy over and over. But again, that's very reliant upon what matchmaking gives you to match you up with the enemy team. And so far, it seems to be okay in that regards. I did have a team that had 2 kids on their side, and they were the defending team. These kids weren't in a division. So that kind of sucked for our CV, but yeah, that's a real toss-up in my book, but it's leaning toward the negative side. Well, this is another positive, and I should have thrown this in there. This is quite a relief for Tier 8 ships, too, because Tier 8 ships are always the ships that get up-tiered to Tier 10 constantly, and having a game mode to where they can play without having to worry about Tier 9 or Tier 10 ships is, I'm sure, a breath of fresh air for many of us that play Tier 8 ships. So that's another plus. I just thought of that now when I'm covering the negatives. So, but other than that, it's a fun game mode. Those are the only 2 real downsides I can think in terms of what's wrong with this convoy mode. And again, we'll see what happens when or if submarines get added into this mode, but for now I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I think it's a very, very good game mode. Now, it is unfortunate that it took so long for us to finally get a mode that isn't, you know, camp based and isn't just a mix up in terms of matchmaking, and it is sad too that it's just a temporary game mode. But I think, and like I've said before in the last Convoys video when we were talking about Convoys on the PT server, this is a great opportunity, Wargaming, for you to make a mission of the week, kind of like you do with the operations. We have the operation of the week, now we can have a game mode of the week. I mean, we've got arms race, we've got asymmetric battles, we've got historical battles, and now we have convoys. And it does seem that they're kind of doing that, except it's like a mission of the patch, because I believe next patch we're getting historical battles back. And cool, that's cool, I like that. But maybe if you do it on a weekly basis rather than a patch basis, because, you know, we're stuck with the same mission, with the same game mode for like 5 weeks, which, you know, sure, I wouldn't mind having convoys for 5 weeks, but historical battles, unless they do some more tweaking with what ships are allowed, it wasn't that great, especially for those of us that like to play ships from the Axis side of things. And yes, it's historical that the Allies had more and better ships, but for a game mode, it's not that fun. But we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll do a little mix-up with, like, maybe allowing ships like the Yamato and Musashi in, since they were real steel ships. But I do think we do have plenty of game modes, and it's time that we get something like game mode of the week or something like that. And I'd love to see Arms Race come back too. I love Arms Race. It's a fantastically fun arcadey mode, and I'd love to see it in Convoys in some type of game rotation like that. So that's it, guys. That's how Convoys is going. I strongly encourage you guys to try it out. It's a lot of fun, and do remember too that it is not going to affect your stats. So if you're a stat person, you don't have to go in this super sweaty and worry about damage farming. This game mode is definitely not about damage farming. It's about protecting the objective or destroying the objective, depending upon what role you're in. And it's just a lot of fun, especially if you like close-in combat. I can't stress that enough. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of action in the background right now, and it is, again, just outright a ton of fun, and I strongly recommend that you guys go and try it out. Anyway, guys, that's what I think about Convoys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you're having a wonderful... What's today? Tuesday? Wednesday? Thursday! Today's Thursday! God, thank God, it's almost Friday. That's my inner teacher coming up. Anyway, guys, hope you guys are having a wonderful Thursday. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. We just passed 28,800 a few days ago. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.